Dear audience, Assalamu alaikum. A gracious welcome to you all on the semi-finals of the very first inter-school English debate competition organized by Bangladesh Television Chattogram Center. Debate is a powerful tool for creating an innovative and a logical mind. It helps to develop the characteristics and personality of a human being while enhancing the other characteristics of a student. It also helps to increase the scope of knowledge and confidence level of a debater. The logical and innovative ideas come to their mind as they're challenged to critically think and question their beliefs and justify the way that they think. And I really hope the debaters here today are not just confident enough to question their own beliefs, but also everybody else's. On that very good note, I, your host, Prapanti Chakrabarti, would love to invite you all to come along and enjoy our very lively debate competition participated by two competed teams. Today, the selected motion for the debate competition is: governments should prioritize increasing citizens' happiness over improving the country's economy. The team for the motion belongs to Cantonment English School and College, Chattogram. The team against the motion belongs to Faujdarhat Cadet College. Speakers for the motion are Fatima Binte Morshed, Arunno Rishabdhar, Shashwat Bishash. Speakers against the motion are Cadet Jawad, Cadet Sajid, Cadet Safin. The honorable adjudicators of today's session are Dr. Adnan Mannan, Professor, Department of Genetic Engineering and Biotechnology, University of Chittagong; Dr. Bidut Borua, Deputy Director, Chittagong Medical University and Founder, Chittagong Field Hospital; Abdullah Mohammed Shukrana, President, Bangladesh Debate Federation. The topics on which our honorable judges are going to assign marks in the constructive round are Presentation 5, Language and Pronunciation 10, Presentation of Theory and Information 15, Argumentation and Rebuttal 10. The topics on which our honorable judges are going to assign marks in the rebuttal round are Presentation 5, Language and Pronunciation 5, Argumentation and Rebuttal 20. Dear viewers, now I would love to introduce you to our honorable moderator of today's program, who will be conducting the entire competition and announce the results at the end. The honorable moderator of today's competition is Abul Momin, Ekushe Padak recipient, eminent journalist. Now, I would most humbly like to request you, sir, to come up on the stage and take your seat. Before we start the debate, I would like to inform you about the order and time allocation of each debater. Each debater will get 5 minutes to present his or her speech. An alarming bell will ring on the 4th minute and the final bell will ring on the 5th minute. In the rebuttal round, both the team leaders will get 2 minutes each. Alarming bell will ring on 1.5 minute and the final bell will ring on the 2nd minute. Dear audience, before getting on to the competition, I would like to give you a friendly reminder that from now onwards, you can not only watch our episodes on your television set, but also on Facebook and YouTube. Tune in on facebook.com/btvchattogram and www.youtube.com/@btvchattogram. Now, I would most humbly like to request our honorable moderator to preside over the competition and start the debate.
With best wishes to all, the competitors, the adjudicators, and the viewers, let me begin the debate. I would first invite the first speaker of Cantonment English School and College, Chattogram, to speak for the motion. This is Fatima Binte Morshed.
Thank you, Honorable Moderator and respected judges, for providing me the floor to speak in today's debate. The motion in today's debate is government should prioritize increasing citizens' happiness over improving the country's economy. And for logical reasons, me and my team is speaking in favor of the motion. Now let us come to the definition. By government, we mean the Bangladesh government. By improving country's economy, we mean adopting economic policies solely based upon economic utility, ensuring maximum amount of production is the main priority, even if it leads to labor exploitation. In generally, this economic improvement is measured by GDP, GNP, etc., which doesn't consider mass people's well-being. Now, by increasing citizens' happiness, we mean 5 things. 1, accessible healthcare. 2, free primary and secondary education. 3, certain living standards such as per capita income, housing, etc. 4, psychological well-being through cultural activities and religious functions. 5, eco-friendly policy to reduce carbon emission. In generally, the happiness of citizen is measured by GNH, gross national happiness, which considers both economic progress and citizens' well-being. From the proposition side, we will prove that as government prioritizes policies to ensure happiness has more immediate and tangible benefits as opposed to increasing gross production. As the first speaker, I will provide our arguments for the motion. My second speaker will come up and elaborate them and further. And lastly, my third speaker will sum up the debate and show you the comparatives. Now, we'll be giving 3 arguments from the proposition side. First one is, we believe happiness is the only thing people thrive for and not money. Secondly, while prioritizing happiness would increase the standard of living. 3, prioritizing happiness can ensure mental health and better quality of life. Now, honorable moderator, why do we believe happiness is the only thing people thrive for and money can ensure it? Let us take Bhutan as an example. Though Bhutan is placed as 153rd among the poorest countries in the world, they don't have much natural resources. Still, Bhutan has continually been ranked as the happiest country in Asia. Source, Business Week. So from the proposition side, we acknowledge that money gives you purchasing power, which gives you financial security and freedom, but mass people take this as happiness. The problem with this pseudo happiness is that it makes people greedy and unsatisfied with what they have and compel them to earn more. So, to earn more money, people spend a lot of time in workplaces. Oftentimes, they also take huge loan on their shoulders so that they can earn more. And it leads to 2 harms. 1, lack of communication with friends and families that creates social isolation. 2, mental health gets hampered due to loneliness, depression, anxiety. So overall net productivity gets decreased in the long run. Moreover, if people need to pay huge fees for meeting their basic needs like education and healthcare, it again leads to 2 harms. 1, people living under poverty will always live in this poor condition and in bad health condition due to lack of opportunities. And 2, people can participate in social and cultural activities as they spend a lot of time and energy to gather money for these fees, which also will lead to social isolation and basic human right violation. And now, honorable moderator, why do we prioritize happiness? Why do we think prioritizing happiness would increase the standard of living? 4 things will change in policy if we prioritize happiness. What are they? 1, we believe government will allocate more budget in education and healthcare sector to make them more accessible and qualityful. And 2, parks and sports fields would be more in numbers. 3, private sectors would allocate budgets to improve office environment and to make it more comfortable and enjoyable, like planting trees, communal activities, etc. And participation in cultural activities and social functions would be encouraged more. And now, let us come to the third argument. Honorable moderator, why do we believe prioritizing happiness can ensure mental health and better quality of life? Because all these things will ensure good family bonding and better communication, and we believe it will significantly reduce crime and drug abuse, as parents and friends will be there for mental support. But most importantly, we believe it is the only way to help reducing the divorce rate and domestic violence in Bangladesh. We believe as a country, as our next aim is to fulfill SDG goals, which will focus on socio-economic and environmental progress, we can also achieve them by prioritizing mass people's happiness. And this will a window of opportunity, and this will also open a window for opportunity for the deprived and underprivileged people of our country. And thus, we believe government should prioritize citizens' happiness over improving the country's economy. Thank you, Honorable Moderator. Thank you, everyone.
So I would now invite the first speaker of Faujdarhat Cadet College to speak against the motion. This is Cadet Zawad.
Evening of 1st September 2023, Shomai TV telecasted a report on Goriber Super Shop, where one can buy a bag of groceries by only 1 taka. Korimon Bewa, a 50-year-old poverty-stricken woman, went into there and came out with a very big smile. Why is that? Because after a long time, she could go and shop and feed her children. But after seeing that smile, I could come to a realization. What is that, you might ask? That happens to be, why aren't the other people having this big of a smile? It is because if the lower income people of our country had the opportunity of having a better, more versatile economy, then they're going to have this smile. So I came to the conclusion that if we could ensure a better of an economy, then we could see this smile in the face of all. Yes, most respected moderator, judicious panel, adjudicators, my dear opponents, and enlightened audience. Assalamu alaikum and a very good day to you all. Debate goes on, and the topic selected for it is government should prioritize increasing citizens' happiness over improving the country's economy. And our staunch stand is against the motion. Respected moderator, my dear opponents' utopian fairy tale-like definitions of happiness and economic improvement do not match with today's economical, crucial, and unpredictable systems. Happiness is an abstract idea. The perception of happiness varies from man to man. It is a feeling and not so tangible. According to Matthew Killingsworth, a senior fellow at Penn's Wharton School, happiness is a present emotion which is greatly influenced by money. But economic improvement is quite tangible. According to the article, Economic Development Indicators published by WEDC Research Center of Loughborough University, economic development is the sustainable growth of a simple low-income economy to a modern high-income economy. And our second speaker will mention how economic improvement has developed our country's well-being, happiness index, and obviously your so demanded living standard. I want to mention about the father of our nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, and about what he said. Our farmers are the most unhappy class. We have to spend a big amount of money for them to be happy. I unquote. Source, unicom.com. My dear opponents, you have defined economic improvement in such a way as if prioritizing economic improvement meant neglecting all other things, including happiness. But it is essential to make the difference clear. When a government has the option to make choices between maximizing happiness or improving economy, they should always choose economic development. Now, what is the reason? Just let us look to Sri Lanka. According to an article published on the Time magazine on 13 July 2022, the then president of the country, Gotabaya Rajapaksa, banned in 2022 all the chemical fertilizers for fulfilling his promise to make Sri Lanka a agroecologically sustainable country. But the result? More than 2 million farmers, or around 27% of the national labor force, were left scrambling for natural fertilizers, which resulted in an ocean of unhappiness. The agriculture product decreased drastically, and ultimately, within a couple of years, the country sank into a debt of $51 billion. And therefore, the country was declared as bankrupt. My dear opponents, how will you justify this bankruptcy of Sri Lanka, which arose a lot of unhappiness amongst the people? Respected moderator, let me cite a headline from the Daily Star of 2016. 26th July of 2022. Forced by poverty, Thakurgaon laborer puts up his own daughter for sale. My dear opponents, very often we see the hopeless people post in different social media for financial help or donation for treatment of cancer or other complicated diseases. How can you practically think about the happiness of a person who's suffering from cancer but has no money for treatment? Please do answer. Will you sell your utopian happiness to a mother who cannot marry off her daughter due to financial crisis? What will you tell the teenagers who instead of going to school are working in the brick mills? Such conditions became even worse during the COVID-19 pandemic. Dear opponents, let us look back to a historical fact of 1930s when the whole world experienced the Great Depression, one of the greatest economical shocks in the history of mankind. Jean Smiley mentioned in her book that rethinking the Great Depression, the effects of long-lasting and stable socio-economic and political condition of the Great Depression led to the Second World War. So, dear opponents, when history itself reminds you of prioritizing economic improvement, why are you the one who has to deny it? But dear opponents, prioritizing happiness raises the problem of resource allocation and incentive distortion as well. So if a country were to maximize happiness, then my dear opponents, would you support changing the mixed capitalistic economy of many countries into an equally distributed socialistic economy? Please do answer. Respected moderator, the first 4 SDGs are no poverty, no hunger, good health and sanitation, and quality education. The fulfillment of these goals means the increase of citizens' happiness. I'm sure you know, but I have to say that if our country's economy is not improved, then where will we get the money to reduce poverty and hunger? We expect a substantive answer from you. There goes a proverb. The wearer knows best where the shoe pinches, and more than 5 lakh educated Bengalis are out there sitting without any jobs. Don't you think they are unhappy for? But to solve this unhappiness, are you going to pray to Lord that, oh Lord, please send some food for the unemployed from the sky? No, you're not. You're going to give more emphasis on the economic improvement. So let us sing the song of government should prioritize improving country's economy over increasing citizens' happiness. I'd like to conclude my speech here. Thank you, respected moderator, judicious panel of adjudicators. Thank you. Thank you all.
Now it is the turn of Aranyo Rishabdhar, second speaker of Cantonment English School and College, to speak for the motion.
Thank you, Honorable Moderator, for giving the floor in today's debate. Honorable Moderator, as per the first speaker of the opposition bench, they're saying that happiness can be ensured by many, and so now, if we come up to Bhutan, they're also having a very good life, and they're also, according to the GNP, Gross National Happiness, GNH, they are very much happy, and according to the Asia's report, they're one of the top 3 happiest countries of the Asia, as well as the country. And Honorable Moderator, the first speaker has already stated that how happiness is the catalyst for the productivity and good life. As the second speaker, today I will explain you further that why happiness should be prioritized by the government. And today, for the last couple of the years, the government made the primary education free, as well as they have also subsidized some books so that the people, also the poor people, can easily do them and have some preparations toward the for future life. And as a result, now we can see that the people are more frequently moving towards the education, and most importantly, the stereotype that was used to be present in our country, that women are not equal to men, is also changing. And we believe that today these incentives had pushed the most people to send their children in the schools. And besides, that is to say that a country like Bangladesh, who has a very limited resource, can also be a good country by allocating a budget for this kind of human beings and the well-being causes. Secondly, in the same way, if we can ensure more accessible healthcare towards the people, now they can also get these opportunities, and there can be also some private initiatives. Besides, the government can also take some initiatives for the healthcare of the people. And today, Honorable Moderator, besides these 3 things have 2 impacts, and where the first impact is that the people will be more aware about the health problems, and secondly, that they will feel be secure in the health safety reasons. And now, Honorable Moderator, ensuring this happiness will also change our industrialization policies. And it is also seen that nowadays people are working in different congested areas where they are not feeling free but just for their money and to live their life. They're doing that kind of jobs even after their less qualifications or the great qualifications of their job. And today they are not even using some eco-friendly technologies which are also least in the carbon emission, where Bhutan is today is one of the best country in case of absorbing the emission as the less than as the more than emission. And today the moment in the government will make policies for prioritizing people, and in the case of the environment, we believe that the people who will work more in the friendly environment, they can do the work more efficiently. And we have already seen that the great impact in the European countries where people do jobs in a greater environment can do a better result in case of their working. And besides, Honorable Moderator, and it is also seen that Bangladesh, there are child within the cares in the garments. In the garments, more people are setting up different types of daycares where the workers of the garment can stay there, and their mothers also feeling safe that my children is staying in the garments industry's daycare, and as a result they can do a better job, and they are also doing freely some overtime works which are also leading to the industrialists in a good level. And today we believe that if it comprises the gross national product to a certain degree, and its impact will also benefit us in the long run and also in the economic growth, and this way can the happiness also lead the country in a good economic way. And it is also a high potential to believe a large economic sector. Then playing sports, cricket and news personalities can also be added in our national team, and as well they can also provide a good result in the future, and thus the mental and the economic benefits can also be achieved through prioritizing these things. And honorable moderator, today the personal life balance is also important in our day-to-day life. Today where we can see that our parents are pressurizing for different types of jobs and where they get the higher quality. Most of them are more importantly doctors and engineers. Instead of having different types of high potential in case of the cultural areas, they are forced or they are just pressurized by the parents to do jobs like the doctor and the engineers where they don't have the interest and they have the low patience. And honorable moderator, today we believe that both communication will also encourage the parents to be supportive to their country. And see, in Bangladesh there is a depression, also the taboo of depression, where the parents think it is just an excuse for them to don't do study and live a better comfortable life. Actually it's not. The education policy that is given that have some pressurizations where it can be less burden by the government. And honorable moderators, the culture activities also help to create the harmony among different group of people. And today, if we see, there was also some people and misconceptions about the culture and rituals of the minor religions and beside the ethnic minorities. And today, if we practice these types of cultural activities of that type of people, we can easily be engaged with them and we can create a harmonical relationship with them. And honorable moderator, also finally, we can also say that the government should prioritize people's happiness over improving the country's economy, because we can also see in the Nordic countries where the economic growth is good, there also the crime rate is also less, and as the people are happy there, no one are doing any kind of illegal jobs there. Thank you, honorable moderator. Thank you, everyone.
So I now invite Cadet Sajid to speak against the motion. He represents Faujdarhat Cadet College.
According to our opponents, Bhutan, a country known for its unique culture, rich biodiversity and national happiness philosophy. But mysteriously in last 2 years, more than 11,000 Bhutanese youths got their education visas from Australia alone. Why is that despite having plenty of money? Because they are not getting quality life in the country, a life they can pursue, a life they can dream for. Yes, respected moderator, prudent panel of judges, my learned opponents and enlightened present, Assalamu alaikum. Today, as the stage of debate is blazing with fire, the selected motion is government should prioritize increasing citizens' happiness over improving the country's economy. And for some concrete facts and logics, we are standing against the motion. August presents, happiness often encourages short-term policies to settle citizens, which may not align with long-term economic stability and sustainability. This can result in decisions that provide immediate gratification but harm the economy in the long run. But how do you define and measure happiness, my dear opponents? How do you account for subjective and diverse nature of happiness across individuals, cultures, and also contexts? How do you ensure that happiness indicators and surveys are reliable, valid, and representative of our population? I demand for all the answers, my opponents. Honorable moderator, the second speaker didn't answer the question of my first speaker whether they would want a socialist economy or not. Well, in this case, let me cite an example for France, which for maximizing happiness made an economic downfall. This shows that efforts to retribute wealth to increase happiness may not always achieve the right intention and sometimes backfire by increasing income inequality or creating other problems. These consequences led to widespread dissatisfaction and discontent among the French population. In response to this pressure, the government of France eventually abolished the wealth tax in 2018 and replaced it with a property tax that applied to only real estate above 1.3 million euros. So, how do you design and implement policies program that effectively increases happiness for the people, my dear opponents? How do you evaluate and monitor their impacts and outcomes? How do you ensure that they are sufficient, equitable, and accountable? How do you prevent or address the potential problems of dependency, complacency, or corruption that may arise from overemphasizing happiness? I insist for all the answer, my opponents. There were problems a country like Bangladesh will face if the government prioritizes increasing the happiness of a citizen over improving the economy. The relationship between happiness and economy has been previously stated by my first speaker, so let's talk about why prioritizing the country's economy is necessary. My opponent's second speaker has said about free book distribution, but it is only up to primary level, my dear opponents. What about the other levels? What will you do about by government done? Moreover, Bangladesh has a vision of attaining upper middle income status by 2031. To achieve this vision, Bangladesh needs to create jobs through a competitive business environment, increase human capability and build a skilled labor, also build efficient infrastructure and establish a policy environment. So these are some of the key drivers of economic growth that can also enhance the well-being for the population in the long run. Source World Bank, my opponents. Now, currently Bangladesh has many mega projects in its hand, including the Podda Bridge, the Irupur nuclear power plant, the metro rail, and many more. These projects will increase the happiness of the citizens by reducing traffic congestion, air pollution, which are major sources of stress and frustration for the urban dwellers. They will also provide a clean and reliable source of energy as well, which will improve the equality and availability of the electricity, as well as reduce greenhouse gas emissions, as my opponent's first speaker has told, and environment impacts, along with better connectivity and networking, my opponents. According to a Daily Star publication on 14th of March 2018, Bangladesh ranked 115 out of 156 countries in your so-called ranked happiness. But in 2022, we ranked 94 countries by improving our economic development, my opponents. How do you prefer these statistics? I demand an answer. We are all familiar with the quote, my opponents, which goes like, when poverty comes in at the door, love flies out of the window. Now, my opponent's first speaker has asked, how will Bangladesh develop the well-being of its citizens, prioritizing improved economy over increased happiness? I would say the government should focus more on improving the quality of life of its citizens, rather than just increasing the quantity and quality of the life of its citizens and output. This means investing more in education, healthcare, social protection, environmental protection, and civic participation. These are the factors that can enhance people's happiness and well-being in the long run. By doing so, the government can also foster a more inclusive and sustainable development that benefits everyone. But in return, let me ask you the same question as well, my dear opponents, from my perspective. How will Bangladesh develop the well-being of its citizens, prioritizing increased happiness over improved economy? The question remains. My opponent's second speaker asked, what is the point of prioritizing economic growth if the people of the country are not happy? In that case, I should reply that the point of economic growth is not to neglect or sacrifice the happiness of the people, but to enhance and sustain it. Economic growth is not an end to itself, but means to an end. The end is the improvement of the people, well-being and quality of them, which encompasses various quality of life of human capabilities such as health, education, living standards, culture and environment. Happiness is one of those aspects, but not the only one. I repeat, not the only one. With this optimistic hope that I have created my opponent's mindset to the right path, I'd like to conclude my speech here. Thank you all for your kind and patient hearing.
Now it is the turn of the team leader of Cantonment English School and College, Chattogram, Shashwata Bishwas, will speak for the motion.
Thank you, my honorable speaker, for letting me speak at this parliament. First of all, for my opposition bench, they have just repeated the thing that we have said over here. To ensure happiness of the people, we have already mentioned about policies of education. We have already mentioned about different measures that the government would take for ensuring people's happiness, like improving the per capita income or living standard, like improving people's education policies, like improving people's socio-economic securities. And they have just repeated these things again and again by their first and second speakers spontaneously and consecutively. So I think that they are just speaking for us. And over here, in your world, when you are talking about economic improvement or improving the economy, I didn't see any sort of thing where you have mentioned about economic improvement. You have just said about different socio improvement, where you will improve about education, where you will develop about different education policies and anything like social security of people, living standards of people. So where is this economic development that you are fighting for over here? So I think you are completely speaking for us in this total debate house. And now my learned opponents and my moderator, please view. In this debate, in your world, when you are just concentrating on socio-economic development and you have described about Padda Setu, please, the Padda Bridge, this is the thing, yes, this is an economic concept, this is an economic asset in our country. But when people built this, when people were engaged in building this, how many people were happy during that? And that is why we have seen many rumors, many things in opposition of this Padda Setu, where we have seen many people opposing this policy. And when the toll was introduced, many people have also opposed that. So this is the happiness we're talking about. And we have not denied your economic development over here. And again, just view, in your world, when you are only emphasizing on economic development, yeah, you will advance, you will improve in your economic conditions. But in our world, when you are emphasizing on people's happiness, when you are emphasizing on people's needs, you are fulfilling their needs consecutively and successively, then see, you are automatically emphasizing on economic growth. And to satisfy people by their needs, to ensure their happiness, you will need to improve their you will need to improve the socio-economic condition of your country. You will need to improve your economy. And secondly, what my first and second speakers have already mentioned about the psychology of people, about people's psychological condition, about people's well-being. Yeah. when you are engaging, the government, the administration is engaging in development of your country, then when people are satisfied with what they got from the country, when are people satisfied that the economy is working for their happiness, then the people would also work for sustainable development. Where in the pretext of Bangladesh, we can see any type of measure that the government takes for economic development is opposed by many, is corrupted. Yes, you have said about corruption. What is the cause behind corruption? Because people are not satisfied with what they have. And over here, when the people will be satisfied, when the people will be ensured with their basic rights, when people will be ensured with their recreation, then listen, then people would also participate in that development progresses, they will also contribute in sustainability of that development. They will also, when the foreign affairs, when anything from the third party would interfere in our country's affairs or attack the country's policies, then the citizens will also work for that. So, in terms of sustainability, which you talked about, for sustainability, ensuring people's happiness is the prime concern that we're talking about here. And lastly, let's talk about SDG, which is an unconditioned, a very important development charter for the global countries. And over here, in terms of SDG, in our world, we can see economic developments, which you are also talking about, for ensuring people's happiness. When the government would ensure people not to be hungry, people are included in employment policies, then economically, our country will be developed. Secondly, socially, my second speaker have already said that gender equality matters in our world, where to ensure people's happiness, both the genders and also kids should be ensured with their proper job opportunities, proper rights also. So gender equality and education, which we have also talked about, and that is completely our point that we have talked about, that education should be made by the government to make people happy, to make them satisfied. And thirdly, environment, where we can see in the Nordic countries also that they are emphasizing on their environment conditions, and in the Nordic countries we can see that people are forced to pay a very big amount of taxes, but still they pay that because they are ensured with complete free secondary education. May I get 15 seconds?
Just complete your sentence.
They get free of education and free of well-being. So this is why happiness is the most important concern in type of a country's development, a country's population development and sustainability. Thank you, Honorable Moderator. Thank you, everybody.
Cadet Shafin, team leader of Faujdarhat Cadet College, now will speak against the motion.
In the realm of trade, where deals are made, happiness blooms like a vibrant parade. When the economy is steady and the heart is light, people find joy in both day and night. Thank you, Mr. Moderator, for giving me the floor. I suggest everyone present here to prepare for a debate finale that will leave an indelible mark on our dear opponent's thoughts. And I'm not here just to sugarcoat or mince words, but rather I will state some facts that will most definitely change our dear opponent's imaginations into the present reality. August presents and dear opponents, Assalamu alaikum. My first speaker had asked the question about the Great Depression, and my dear opponents seem to agree with us that they still haven't provided us with an answer. Respected moderator, the second speaker from my team stated about the unwavering significance of the improvement of economic growth in our country for the well-being of its people. Following that, let me grab your attention to an important aspect of this topic, which is the recent flood in Chattogram area. We witnessed the sufferings and plight of hundreds of families as their homes got submerged under the water, and so did their happiness, my dear opponents. And let me illustrate another example for you. Do you know what the heaviest burden for a parent to carry is? Yes, it is the dead body of his or her own very child. And in the Faujdarhat area of Chattogram, in recent flood, one college-going student was trapped in a drain and died on the spot. These unnatural deaths of children in the family are not just like any burden, but the burden of the entire universe on the shoulders of their very parents. So there is no doubt that all these families are unhappy. And why are they unhappy, my dear opponents? Of course, it is because of the proper infrastructure development which we lack because of economic insolvency. Respected moderator, the state of economy strongly influences the level of income and employment opportunities as well. My dear opponent's first speaker has mentioned focusing on education to prioritize happiness. But do remember, UNESCO has a recommendation of 4% to 6% of total GDP in education. So my dear opponents, how exactly will a developing country invest this much in education when its economy is not even properly developed? The question remains. August gathering. Please remember what the COVID-19 pandemic had taught us. Not each and every single person were affected by the virus, yet most of them were unhappy. And why is this, my dear opponents? Firstly, whether affected or unaffected, the employment rate went down, creating economic inflation, price hike, insolvency, and so on. And the wages of the people were cut down as well. And this led the citizens into a veil of darkness and unhappiness, as they couldn't even afford the daily necessities. But my dear opponents, in economically developed countries, people were most happy according to report of Reuters. And you keep on speaking about happiness, my dear opponents. Well, how are most of the European nations happy amongst economic crisis worldwide? Well, obviously because they had nothing but economic solvency. My dear opponents, think about the top 10 happiest countries of the entire world. All of them are economically well developed and well established as well. On the contrary, of the top 10 unhappiest countries in the world, all of them are not economically advanced or have very poor national economies. This clarifies the value and necessity of economic development and growth. The happy countries like Finland and Denmark are spending over $7,000 and 4,000 euros respectively in healthcare sectors, whereas the unhappy countries like South Sudan and Central Africa only spend $33 and $42 per person in healthcare sectors due to their poor economic condition. Dear opponents, your first speaker has mentioned about the basic needs of a human to be happy, which are food, clothing, shelter, healthcare, and education to be mandatory. Well, how will a government ensure citizens' happiness if it doesn't even provide the basic rights for which economic solvency is a must? We expect an answer, my dear opponents. My dear opponents, please go and see the torments of the dengue-affected people lying on the floor of all the medical college hospitals of Bangladesh. Their treatment is lingering. They're not getting sufficient and balanced nutrition during their sickness. Their regular diagnosis is uncertain. So please tell me, how can they ever be happy? And please tell me, why are all these taking place? Why are they going through this plight and suffering? Yes, it is because of the insufficient funding and budget allocation of our national economy. Respected moderator, my dear opponents have prioritized happiness so much that they have forgotten the difference between individual happiness and citizen happiness. My dear opponents, if a developing country pours money into the sentiment, the emotions of each and every people, then who will pay for the import of rice, fuel, and all the other materials that the citizen of a country need in order to lead a happy life? I demand for an answer, my dear opponents. Now, the point that I would like to make is that policies aimed at increasing happiness can have unintended consequences. As President Joe Biden stated in his speech, "My economic plan is a blue-collar blueprint to rebuild America," I quote, unquote. In other words, policies aimed at rebuilding the middle class and improving the economy can indirectly increase happiness by providing people with the resources necessary to pursue their goals and aspirations as well. Furthermore, policies aimed at increasing happiness can have unintended consequences such as inflation, which can harm the very people that they are intended to help. So my dear opponents, you have focused on happiness in such a way as if all of the countries in the world are developed. But August House, only 152 out of 200 plus countries in the world are developing and least developed countries. In those countries, people are struggling for ensuring fundamental rights. There, how can you imagine investment on happiness without focusing on economic improvement? I insist for an answer, my dear opponents. So at the very end of my speech, let me finish stating a very famous quote by Bo Derek. I quote, "Whoever said money cannot buy happiness simply didn't know where to shop." And with this, I believe I have successfully proved why prioritizing an improved economy is way more important than increasing the happiness of citizens. With this, I'd like to conclude my speech here. Thank you, August Presidents, for your patience hearing.
So now we go to rebuttal phase. And the first to come is Shashwata Bishwas, the team leader of Cantonment English School and College. He will speak for the motion.
Thank you, Your Honor, for providing this floor once again in this prestigious house. First of all, from the opposition bench, I have already mentioned that they have already talked about developing different sort of healthcare or education policies. And over here, when the third speaker again appeared on the bench, they have talked about that the government doesn't have the money to do so. So I don't think that they are sustained on their decisions, where the other two speakers are talking about developing the policies and the third speaker is opposing that again. So I think that's a complete mistake, Your Honor. And over here, you have talked about we have talked about different countries where they have set examples in ensuring people's happiness, and this initiative to ensure people's happiness have also helped in economic growth of the country. And yeah, you are talking about economic growth of the country, which is obviously related with many things that you have also mentioned about importing rice and other things. We have already mentioned policies where ensuring people's happiness is not just a thing like the parents just ensuring or giving time to his or her kid, but the government needs to set policies to ensure people's happiness, where we have already where we have already mentioned about those policies which the government needs to take for that. And you have also agreed with us in this total regard, and we think so. And this, I think, we are obviously emphasizing on people's happiness with our opposition bench as well. Now, Look, in their world, I have already mentioned, in their world, when they're talking about economic development only, in economic development, when people are satisfied or dissatisfied, people are the soul of the country. The population is the soul of the country. And for politics and everything regarding politics, socialisms, or everything with economies are emphasized on people, on the population. So if the maximum group of, may I get 15 seconds?
Yeah.
So if the maximum population agrees with that, then only the thing is sustainable, then only the thing is for economic development. So with this, I end my speech, and I think in this, the House, this proposition will be accepted. Thank you, my Honorable Speaker.
Cadet Shafin, the team leader of Faujdarhat Cadet College, will conclude the debate.
Thank you, respected moderator, for handing me the floor once again. While my opponent's misconceptions can seem convincing at first, it stands in the position at which it doesn't withstand a closer inspection. And let's identify why that is. My dear opponents, if you look at the Sustainable Development Goals, as you have mentioned, there is no particular goal which says no unhappiness. I do agree. But what it does include are no poverty, no hunger, industry, innovation and infrastructure, and obviously economic growth. And would you rather sell your fairy tale tablets of happiness to the Rohingya refugees instead of improving economic funding, my dear opponents? How ironic. My dear opponents, first and second speaker have told about happiness in the long run. And also our third speaker has said that during the construction of the Podda Bridge, the construction workers were very, very unhappy. But look at it in the long run, my dear opponents, third speaker. After the construction of this very bridge, the dead bodies of the people who were failed to reach the other side of the country because of the Podda River are now able to reach it, and those who were not able to go to vacation because of the Podda River are now able to go to the to vacation. And this is why we strongly believe that it does bring happiness in the long run. My opponent's third speaker also wanted citizens' happiness, but I think he didn't know that economic empowerment of women could address the gender gap in happiness, according to a press release of the World Bank published on December 4th of 2013. Dear opponents, how can you not prioritize economic improvement when undermining it undermines the happiness of half of your citizens? My dear opponent's second speaker has also blamed poor infrastructure or sports, like organizing sports competition, for happiness of the citizens. Well, those surely require improving the economy at first. Thus, you have came straight back to our logic, my dear opponents. Dear opponents, it is seen that prioritizing happiness often harms long-term goals, as you've already seen in one of Sri Lanka. However, prioritizing economy also ensures increasing overall happiness, which is like striking two birds with one stone. So why wouldn't we want to improve the economic standard of our country, my dear opponents? So I firmly believe that I've proved the fact that indeed government should prioritize economy over the citizens' happiness. And with this, I'd like to conclude. Thank you, our presence, for your patience hearing.
Thank you all. So we have listened to a very lively and competitive debate today. They spoke on the subject, government should prioritize increasing citizens' happiness for improving the country's economy. Happiness is a relative term because we see that even in living in a palatial building or driving a very expensive car, having all other amenities of luxuries, one may be unhappy, one may be very in depression. So happiness is something that you cannot buy with money only. And also listening to these young, very promising debaters reminded me one of our national poet, Kazi Nazrul's poem. He wrote in a poem, which is his iconic poem, Daridro, He Daridro, Tumi More Korecho Mohan. Oh poverty, you have made me great. So how? So this may happen that we know that Bauls in our country, they consciously avoid any item of luxury. So their need, the standard of the living, you cannot compare it with the normal citizens. So it all differs with people to people, but yes, in a standard society, we definitely believe that we need to have development and a certain level of economic standard for all people of the country. And that is what we believe, that well, it can bring at least happiness generally for maximum people. So meantime, I have the results in my hand, and the competition was quite competitive. They were close. Winner team of today is Faujdarhat Cadet College. The best speaker is Cadet Shafin. And with these few words, we conclude the debate session here.